Welcome back to the third and final part of Betting People with Kitty Trice. Now, we've discussed her route into racing and her route into Bloodstock, but now we're going to discuss racing as a sport in general, because racing does face quite a few tough challenges. The first is prize money, which has been a theme for quite a few years, and actually I'm sure is something that many of you watching will have an opinion on. So first things first, Kitty, how can British racing fix its prize money crisis?
Difficult because it's just everyone's got an opinion, and obviously it's a very sort of heated topic, and unsurprisingly so. I do think we need to sort of, obviously it will have to take sort of a fairly significant overhaul to the system as it is presently, but I just think we need to sort of have a look at how the French do it, look at the Australian systems. Obviously they'll differ and maybe it's not possible to apply here, but I just think we need to maybe get some sort of, I don't know, someone from a different body, like, an international body who can sort of come and help, bring some fresh ideas to the table. Because at the moment I think we're sort of in, we're stuck, and it's going back and forth between the race courses, the horsemen, BHA, and it's just not going very far. Obviously, there's the prize money increase from September the 1st, but, with the uncertainties around COVID, I just wonder what's going to happen next. And I think we need to have, a bold plan, clear leadership of what's going to happen next, and maybe someone from an international racing body can help with that.
And do you think that cutting the amount of fixtures we have, we do have quite a high amount of fixtures in comparison to other racing jurisdictions, could that help possibly? Or do you think the solution lies elsewhere?
I mean, the trouble with that is, by cutting fixtures, inevitably they will be the lower grade races. And, if you look at like the pyramid, the top 10%, pattern rated performers, pattern list races, group races. If we cut a load of fixtures, the majority that'll be affected will be the class 5s and 6 horses. And already, we're hearing stories of them sort of being turned out or retired, or, not racing, in a word. And I just think that will cause a whole host of issues, not to mention, like, a potential welfare issue. And I don't know if it'll work, possibly cutting fixtures, but it is an idea. But I just would worry about the lower grade horses at this stage.
Okay, interesting thoughts. I'm sure people will have their own opinions. Another big topic this summer has been rules of interference. We've seen it with quite a few high-profile instances, and I think long before that Kevin Blake article, many people really did have a lot of dissatisfaction with British racers' interference rules. If you were in charge, what changes would you make to UK stewarding as a whole?
Well, I would. The trouble is, you see some jockeys appealing and it being overturned. I mean, amount of cases you've seen overturned, like, it's a concern that they get overturned so easily. I mean, depends on the severity of the incident, of course, but I would make a tighter loophole where that is concerned, where you have to take the punishment. I mean, whether it's accidental or not, something needs to happen before, there's a serious incident. And I would also consider, I don't know, I mean, you could look at, depending on where the horse is, whether the horse is the winner or not, and the distance. I mean, there is obviously the talk of disqualification and such, but is it really fair to the owner, the trainer, who haven't been involved in that? I mean, I think you have to look at the punishment for the jockey anyway, and whether that's including taking away the winning prize money, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's too harsh, but I just think something's got to be tightened up a bit. But obviously there's a fine balance, because, I don't pretend to have ridden in as many races as these jockeys. I've only ridden in one, but there's a fine line, because these jockeys as a whole, like there is for the most part excellent riding, but on these occasions where there are accidents, I mean, it needs to be taken seriously, and if necessary there needs to be, you know, some form of punishment.
I don't think many people disagree with anything that you've said there. Another wider issue for racing has been sort of the attraction, basically, of new fans and different fans, something actually that all sports have been considering, I think, this summer. Is there anything that you would do to try and get racing to encourage new people to join the sport, particularly looking ahead down the next 5 or 10 years?
It was obviously difficult with COVID and, you know, thus not allowing people to sort of congregate and stuff, but there's several things. I mean, I would open up, you know, to the public. Stud farms, obviously they have their priorities, you know, which is the breeding and foaling and, you know, looking after of the bloodstock. But, you know, during the summer, for instance, I think it would be great if people could see sort of the mares, the foals, you know, that side of the racing, because obviously we see the horses in action on the track, and a lot of the time we see what happened when they retire. You know, the retaining of racehorses does a great job. But I think you know, people would love to see, or just from my opinion, I'd love to see, you know, the horses beforehand. I mean, the farms have done a great job tweeting over the winter with the hashtag like Foal Friday, and you see all these foals out of sort of old stars and by old stars, and it's just wonderful. And another thing, which is not totally related, but there was a programme on a few years ago about Sir Henry Cecil and Frankel. That was on Channel 4, and I think that did really, really well. Obviously, I think that'd be a great way to get more people into the sport. Like, you know, it's great at sort of letting people know who he was, who Frankel is, and, you know, it's easy to follow. And I think more programs like that on mainstream channels would really help, especially if you know, if they're like I am, sort of horse mad girl growing up and then seeing this, you know, fantastic trainer and racehorse, just watching that. So it's, you know, it can spark an imagination, it can spark some, you know, interest, I think.
Very interesting indeed. Coming to the end of this now, but actually something that I have been wanting to ask you about. Your one racecourse ride, you referred to it earlier, was last year at glorious Goodwood. The amazing story of Khadija Mellah, I think, is not something anybody here will have missed or forgotten about. But just describe sort of the whole experience, you know, the lead up to the race, what it was actually like to come hurtling down the chute at Goodwood, and you know, sort of the amazing story, because you were actually there. You know, you had a first person view of it. What was it like?
It was a complete blur of madness. I was actually, like, I get quite nervous about stuff, really, and it was actually fine the night before we checked into the hotel. I found that I had a car with my silks on and my name and my own driver. I was just like, oh my goodness, like, this is the dream. He was a lovely guy, and yeah, we were picked up and driven to the racecourse and back the morning of the race quite early, and we walked the course, which was quite an experience. We yeah, it was walking the course. It was so quiet and just, you know, I didn't quite know or quite believe that it was going to be that busy when, you know, even when we started to fill up. And the most nerve-wracking bit was going into the parade ring, and I had, in the weighing, I panicked because I couldn't find my saddle. I was like, where's my saddle? But anyway, that was all. I went into the parade ring with my family, who were all there, and like there was crowds everywhere, which was incredibly daunting, very strange. I felt like I was sort of famous. It was just bizarre, and at that point it was really starting to kick in. I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. I was like, it actually hit home that I was about to sort of get on horse and ride in this race, and but I managed to get on, went down to the start. One of the lads from Chris Gordon's yard trotted him up, which, you know, that was the first step over getting down. I just wanted to get down and not fall off. And then we were circling, and in previous years the start had been a problem, like messy, and we were told, you know, for goodness sake, don't mess this up. And I was just like, oh gosh. And my horse, he had done this before, so I was just like, I'm in safe hands. And we started, he was a bit slow away, but I literally, because I didn't sort of go out there to do anything other than stay on and complete, which is weird because I'm quite a competitive person, I could actually enjoy it. Like, you know, it did go quite quickly, but it didn't feel as mad as I thought it would. It was a bit of a blur, but it was great fun, actually. I really enjoyed it, and the aftermath was fantastic because all that build up was gone. You could just enjoy it, knowing you'd done it, knowing you'd raised that money, and I'd love to do it again. I really would, actually. Looking back, it was brilliant, and Goodwood were superb. I had an amazing bunch of girls to ride with. You know, Khadijah won. It was fantastic for the sport. We got so much sort of fantastic, positive publicity out of it, and if that can just attract more people like Khadijah into the sport, because obviously the sport, you know, it is majority, you know, we do need to attract a more diverse audience, and hopefully with Khadijah that we've planted the first steps of doing that, and I really hope it, down the line more girls like Khadijah will do it, because it's just fantastic.
I think a wonderful note on which to first of all apologise for the slight link breakup there, and of course to end this Betting People with Kitty Trice. Thank you so much for your time, Kitty, and all the best at RP Bloodstock next week.
Thank you.